So we're at session 114. Who would like to describe what happened last session?
Clay fucked it all up. He got spotted.
That
Been
wasn't
tracking him.
my fault.
He
But
was being tracked.
we had just gotten to this strange hideout by Ringer Orn, and who is a uh an a very powerful telepath, and he gave us shelter because he understood that we are able to help his cause, as um, they are not aligned with the um, the the kindred who are following Thult. And so we were resting. We kind of talked a little bit to some of the people, um, and then eventually there was like, I think there might have been some kind of warning, uh, or maybe not, but I know Clave very badly failed on his saving throws, leaving him completely stunned, uh, and resulted in fireballs dropping in through the sky that were Azers and Ifrit. Um, and so we fought with them. Ringer Orn and the other changelings fought with us. Um, Ringer Orn, through the fight with uh, the Ifrit, had been turned into vapor at one point. Uh, and then, but I think he was able to reform at some point. Uh, and then from there, after we took care of all the bad guys, there was a siren at that point, and Ringer Orn from had informed us that we were about to be assaulted by an infernal engine, which apparently uh, uh, there are a number of them in the city, and uh, they are created by uh, Imix. My
They're under, he said Imix had a number under his control. He
Yeah,
didn't mention that they were manufactured by Imix, but he had
right, but
several.
right, and there were several in the city, and so one of them came. We didn't really have enough time to bolt, or so we thought, and we ended up fighting it, um, and by the skin of our teeth managed to survive, and now we're in the aftermath of that.
Right. So a few other things. The Ifrit who was there uh said that Ringer Orn and the other changelings that were sheltering you actually are Vecna worshippers, and or at least it's unclear whether or not Vecna is worshipped or what his cult actually does, but they were Vecnites, and that Ringer Orn is a vampire, which or at least says Takash, but Zarius figured out when he cast the Dawn spell. And Ringer Orn did not like the Dawn spell. Clearly, he wasn't caught directly in the effect, but he actually purposefully dissolved into a mist so that he could get away from the Dawn spell, which was a little too close to comfort for him. So the first time you saw him transform into mist, that was voluntary on his part. But then he was later attacked by the Hellfire engine, and that reduced him to 0 hit points. And so he involuntarily dissolved into a mist and then slinked off. Now in the aftermath, there is one changeling still alive. It is the changeling that had been fetching stuff for Zarius. going back and forth to the market
Oh,
several
yeah.
times in order so
I
that
just saved that
Darius
man's
could,
life.
could cast his divination spell. But he has managed to survive the fray. There was also an Azer who was at like a far end of the courtyard who you noticed who disappeared into some of the buildings at the southern end of the map and didn't participate in the fight. So he is presumably still doing something. You wouldn't necessarily know what he is up to, but you did see him disappear as he left the area of the combat. It was also pretty clear that the Ifrit was perfectly willing to die. He seemed kind of aware of the fact that his job was really to delay you long enough for the Hellfire engine to get here. And you would have also noticed that the Hellfire engine was pretty single-minded about trying to attack Fringer Orn, more so even than the rest of you. Like every attack it got off, it basically targeted Fringer Orn or his general area so that he was always caught up in whatever it was trying to do. So
And he had
with all of
Sentinel,
these,
which didn't help.
right. So with all of those attacks and having occurred, the fight has just ended. You can basically guess that they're probably going to send other people here when they figure out that their initial wave of attacks have failed. What do you want to do?
I have a couple of checks I need to make. All right. So um since it's charisma with proficiency, I'm gonna do persuasion since that would be the same.
Okay, so let me just send a message to Mike on these checks.
Is there just kind of getting back into it, is there is there a reason to stay in city? Like I as a player don't remember if like, is I remember we need to get Clave out, and like we're here to like to get Clave and Kepri, and like
They
is
were going to get us out
So
when this attack happened.
right. My understanding was that coming here was going to be a stepping stone to getting to uh Imix. Uh
is
so that was
not Dohat Pajar.
or actually so Dohop Pajar. That's right.
Yeah, I did the
So
divination. It said we had to go there to get
yeah,
everything that we need
right.
because it will
So
find the stuff to cure us, and we'll also find other relics there that will help us against him.
yeah. Um and Ringer Orn was gonna help us get out of the city because he is able to open up a small hole in the shield that would otherwise vaporize us.
Okay.
So the one guy that's left, we can ask, is there anyone else who could get us through the barrier?
Yeah, let me finish this message.
Yeah.
I got a little distracted because I was looking up that last guy's name, which I did figure out at one point, and then didn't know where I wrote it down.
Are you continuing it in email or in the or going in the chat?
Yeah, it's a whisper in roll
Okay.
20.
Okay.
So his name is Rotha. And he comes up and says, I don't know that anyone else can get you through the shield wall. It's possible that you could find some other opening and slip through it while the supplies are coming in or going out. Given that they sent a Hellfire engine here to attack us, there's a pretty good chance they will lock down the wall for a while, at least until they figure out what's going on here. Usually the city is sealed. I imagine that Orn will return. He always does.
So, uh, I would then speak up and say, um, Zarius, there are things that are trying to track us. Can you use your wind walk ability? I think that would help us get through the city.
This was my thought as well. And he'll start to, call upon the power of the prayer beads. It'll take a minute. Do we have a plan?
Yes. We're going to follow, what's the changeling's name again?
Rotha.
Rotha. We're gonna follow Rotha. He can guide us to another safe house. And then from there, we can meet with Ringer Orn, who will let us out of the city.
Rotha looks confused. Another safe house? The only safe house I'm aware of is this one.
Wait a minute, am I misremembering?
No, you're not.
Okay. Well, there, Clave just kind of ignores that comment.
What is this Ringer Orin getting in exchange for helping us?
Well, he is opposed to the Thult worshippers. I think for the time being, that is good enough. The enemy of our enemy is our friend, but he's also shown himself to be willing to sacrifice himself. And it wasn't apparent to you during the fight, probably, but I could understand that he was actively suppressing resistance that would have made the infernal engine much more difficult for us to annihilate.
Oh, I mean that's fair. I was just wondering if there was something else that he was looking for, some sort of motivation or some sort of prize he was hoping of getting out of us. But
So I may not have. I thought I mentioned this to you, T-Hole, but while you and the others were away, I was by myself. I sent a message to every changeling in the city, basically letting them know that there was another way aside from Thult, and trying to convince them to turn away from him. And so that brought me to Ringer Orn's attention, as well as the attention of the other leaders of this colony, who would see me destroyed, probably publicly now.
And
So
Rotha begins to scream and grab his head. You can visibly see pulses of psionic energy encircling his head. And almost like very abruptly, he stops screaming and stands up straight, and you see his features transform into that of Ringer Orn. It takes a great deal of energy to maintain my control of this body, while I am also trying to reform my own. but I can lead you to a new safe house. Meanwhile, about a minute has passed, so can cast a spell.
Cool.
Okay. So before we go into Windwalk, I'm going to let the others know. All right, we need to be careful as we move forward, particularly because I should not use my telepathy. It exposes us to those tracking us. So if we are going to be going into Windwalk, we're not going to be able to communicate, and so we all need to keep visual contact with Ringer Orn as we move through the city.
Understood.
And you do begin to hear the sound of armored boots running towards the gate as Zarius casts a spell. I assume you're transforming everybody, including Rotha.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Sorry, you were going to say something.
I had thought that we would just follow Rotha through the streets. Oh wait a
Seems
minute,
like he's
Rotha is not the one Ringer Orn is controlling now, right? There's two of
Rotha
them.
Rotha is the person Ringer Ord is now controlling.
Okay.
He's the only changeling who survived that fight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it probably would be a good thing to give it to him, but I think we need to follow him in his physical form through the city. Otherwise,
Rotha would say, or Ringer Ord through Rotha would say, they probably would seize me on the way out of here. They definitely would have
oh,
had lookouts outside our compound.
that's fair.
If there is a way to follow me while in windwalk form, and it seems from what I know that there should be possible for you to simply keep visual tracking on me, I can lead you to an even more secure location than this one.
Um,
just follow.
yeah.
Watch that spot. Watch that cloud. It will be the first to leave. You follow
I
it.
don't believe the authorities here in the city know of your ability to transform into cloud forms. So I don't think they'll be looking for it. That said, Imix does have information that he hasn't shared with them. It's possible he would know.
Well, that'll at least lead to confusion and potential miscommunication. So I say we do it.
We will still be difficult to track.
So the spell is cast and you all transform into mist. And you proceed to follow Rotha / Ringer Orn, who leads you almost into the dead center of the city. You clearly fly over several districts into what appears to be there is not much distinguishing between like social or economic classes within the city, but it is definitely a series of older and very well maintained buildings near the center of the city, near the central ziggurat. And he leads you to one, and as you fly into a small courtyard within it, you can feel there is some sort of protective magic around you. It's almost as if you're flying through molasses or stepping from into a room where the humidity is extremely high. It's not necessarily slowing you down, but it feels almost soupy even in your cloud forms as you push through this magical field around it. But Rotha lands at the base of a building, a fairly tall building in front of an oval courtyard. and he begins to transform back.
I'll do the same.
What about the
Yeah,
rest
yeah,
of you?
yeah.
And yeah, Tiho will come out, and when he eventually manifests, he will say, "I am connected to the whole. I am one with the sun, the air, the earth, the universe. I am life itself." As he like breathes in deep and then exhales the last like little bit of mist.
What?
You should.
Claim Cat said like
We made it. Doesn't being one with the wind make you feel connected?
It's very fast.
But I suppose you are already connected to all of your brethren in the city. So perhaps you don't need that experience.
no, unfortunately not. I had to very regretfully sever my connection to Mythal Zerat, but I'm hoping it is a temporary measure. It was necessary in order to prevent us from being tracked as they were tracking me.
We need to get you inside. As long as we're on the street, it is possible someone will notice you, particularly the non-changelings in the group. Inside, it is a fairly opulent building. It seems to be, it is essentially a multi-level mansion of sorts. And you can see just from the decor of it, this is probably an actively used residence, probably Ringer Orn's residence. I believe the magical wardings on this building should be enough to defeat any efforts for them to track you. As I said, it is a little difficult to figure out what Imix's abilities are because he clearly has resources beyond what we're used to. Even in this plane, a full plane removed from where he is, he seems to have a bizarre ability to understand what is going on. His divination powers must be extremely extensive, far more extensive than what I'm used to dealing with, living in the colony itself. Still, they've been looking for me for quite a while, and they've never found me here.
So,
Feel free to make yourselves at home. You can rest if you like. As I said, it's very difficult to keep control of this body, at least while I am attempting to reform my own. And I find my full mental capacities are not accessible to me at the moment. But if you have questions, now would be the time. I probably will not be in control of this body for very much longer.
When can we expect you to return in your reformed body?
I should be back here sometime this evening. I don't know exactly how long.
Will you
Well
be,
after dark, probably not until the early hours of tomorrow morning.
will you be in the form that we know you, or will you be in a different form?
I can be in the form that you knew me. I am a changeling at the end, so I can adopt many forms.
I knew that. I was just testing you.
I am one with the wind.
In one ear and out the other.
Are you leaving this changeling here, Rothe?
Yes, he also needs to remain here. I don't know whether or not they're aware of his connection to our order, but they probably are. They must have had some people watching our compound for a while, I would imagine, for them to have assaulted it as cleanly as they did. He could adopt a different form if you need something, I suppose. He should still be able to go outside in some other guise and acquire things. I know that's what he was doing for you during the day.
I think that it would be best if we limit those possibilities, though.
I agree. It's not ideal, but I don't know necessarily what it is you will need, or if I will have it on hand here in my home.
We will survive.
Yeah, there are certainly more questions that I have of you, but I think it might be best to wait until you are able to be fully present.
Agreed. Probably I would add the greatest of your threats while I am gone will be the two Rakshasa of Imix, who almost certainly will be the ones hunting you actively, as they are in control of many of Imix's forces now that the Pasha has moved on. They fly on dragons, so you will probably hear them coming, as they are not always subtle. While on foot, though, my understanding is they're quite stealthy, and there's no reason to believe that they couldn't infiltrate this building easily enough with all the power that they have. I am hoping that they can't find you here, as frankly, I'm not sure whether or not you can defeat them. They are immune to most of the magic, and I think possibly all of the magic you have remaining. Only T-Hole would be obviously effective, since his combat style is more physical than the rest of yours.
I
Well,
have the power to turn negative energy into positive energy.
just gotta swap those polarities.
Swap the
Whereas-
polarity of the neutron flow.
Whereas Rakshasa are always immune to magic of certain levels of power. Namir is the stronger of the two in that regard, also physically stronger than Ron. But Namir can't be affected by any spell unless he chooses it, unless it's extremely powerful. Ron is similar, although I think his ability to withstand magic is a little less developed than Namir's.
I still have some magics available to me.
Um, what would we know about Rakshasa?
I mean, you don't necessarily have to be trained to make this check. Anybody who wants to make a history check might know something about Rakshasa.
What are the chances I would have interacted or like even had any sort of book learning on this?
I mean, so Rakshasa do have a history here in the desert, and you grew up here, so I would think like just myths and legends are what I'm. Yeah, not
That's
very
what I
much.
expect. That's what I expect.
You're
I was
not
just
really
like-
not much of a history buff.
I was wondering if I even had a chance. If I wasn't even gonna roll originally.
So, I mean, T-Hole, you would know that there are different types of Rakshasa to begin with, but the very most common variety that people think of that come up in the myths and legends are, functionally speaking, immune to any magic of 6th level or lower. There are more powerful ones. It kind of sounds like Ron is of that normal level, and that Namir may be one of the more powerful Rakshasa. The more powerful ones sometimes are immune to 7th, even 8th level spells.
Is this the
So
Emperor T-hole line? Is this where
Right.
where it
I've-
branched off?
I imagine that Teal remembers a lot of this sort of through his many, many lives dealing with all sorts of fiends. You would also know that they are fiends. So why these two are working for Imix, who's some sort of elemental, you don't necessarily know, but they do originate in the hells. And a number of them, there are a lot of them, an unusual number of them in the mundane world. And that they really do love the politics of this world and trying to manipulate people around them. They're very good at controlling people's minds and getting people to do what they want. But they're also physically powerful and very difficult to destroy. Even if you kill them, in fact, they'll just reappear in the hells. And so might in time be able to return and seek revenge. But
One
their
weakness.
their near immunity to magic is definitely something that might hinder the party in fighting them. And if they're riding dragons, all the worse.
Their one weakness, they can't do a handshake.
That's
Right.
true. They do have backwards pointing hands. They actually can. It's just they have to like do it from the opposite side. So
You're
it is
shaking the same hand.
right. It is slightly awkward because their hands bend in are essentially reversed so that they
I
seem
mean-
to bend outward.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look for a stick with a little ball on it,
Shaking hands with a mirror of yourself.
or a feather. That's what I'll find a stick with a string and a feather that will distract them.
Said the cat-headed person.
That's right. I know their weaknesses.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
gonna go look for a
Shit.
ball
Right,
and feather.
Don't distract yourself.
right. That's the problem. Every time she shakes it at them, she'll want to chase the feather.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a bowl of yarn. I just know they'll hate that.
I'll find an empty
Be
box.
right back.
Yeah.
We find
Rotha.
her later on playing with the fucking bowl of yarn.
I do like the idea of finding an empty box and just like laying it out, and it's like, yeah, they'll definitely go in that. Those fuckers.
That's how you contain them. You just put down the box. They'll
Put like a glyph of warding in it. You're like, well,
Just surround the building in cucumbers so their sort of fear of snakes will kick in.
it sounds like
So-
these. It sounds like these Rakshasas are immune to probably most of the magic that we could even cast. Well, that you'd be able to cast, especially this Namir.
I've used all of my highest level spells. I mean, if we can get some rest, I can recover a few, but none sufficiently powerful.
Right. The other problem is you kind of just got done with a rest. So
Well, no, I was talking more about like short rest.
right. It will be, you know, another couple of hours before you can really start a new rest. It is
Alright, guys.
nighttime, right? It is nighttime now, so you know, it's not that many hours, but it'll probably be at around the time Ringer Orn isn't going to be back essentially for like 18 hours. So you'll be able to get a rest in that time. But if they come in like the next 5 hours, you could be in trouble.
If he still can be affected by 8th level spells, it's okay, guys. I'll just upcast banishment. And I'll get both of the Rakshasas, maybe even both their dragons.
Yep, that's a plan.
Yeah, well, it's
Whether it's a good plan or a bad plan, well,
Yeah, so I would also say you would also be aware that they are like I said, they're very much into politics and manipulating people. They are extremely charismatic just naturally. And in addition to being immune to certain spells, they actually have magic resistance to everything else. So they have good charisma saves. and advantage on those saves.
Feeble mind. I don't know.
They're very formidable.
Doesn't mean we cannot protect ourselves with our magic.
That is
Wow.
certainly true.
I need to rest. Try to focus and regain some of my magical energy.
Rotha gets wide-eyed and begins looking around. How did we get here? Did you teleport us?
Yes.
Yes.
Where are we?
I don't know. And it should stay that way.
We're safe.
Is this the other safe house you mentioned?
Yes.
It's probably best not to go outside.
Very well. I guess we should, will Ringer Orn be coming here?
He will be.
Once he is recovered.
We
Are
can-
you able to hold back your psionic mental abilities so that none of you could be tracked?
I don't necessarily know what you mean by that.
I don't know either. I don't know how your powers work.
Clay would clarify, Rotha, just stick to speaking. Try to avoid any use of telepathy.
Yeah, he doesn't like that. Like you can see he makes a face.
I understand why that is distasteful, but if we are going to be safe, we need to do so.
Very well. I will refrain from using telepathy.
We're being tracked by things that may be aided if we were to use that. So it is for the best ultimately.
I understand. Well, we should tend to our wounds. I imagine in a place as richly decorated as this, that there must be some medical supplies somewhere. Do you know where they might be, or should we just start searching?
I think it's time to start searching.
So
I'm going to
he-
start reading.
So Aurelia sits down where she is, takes out her books. What do the rest of you want to do?
I'm gonna spend some hit dice.
Yeah, I'll look around for medical supplies.
So you do find basic medical supplies. It's very basic. Like it doesn't seem like he has prepared for triage. He's not himself an adventurer, and he's undead and regenerates. So it's all stuff for other people that's pretty dusty and unused.
Right.
But you can all get a short rest in immediately if you wanted to.
I'll do the Song of Rest if that's what people are if we're gonna do a short rest.
Yeah. How much does that add to each hit die?
Just one extra die.
It's
It's like a
specific die.
right?
Oh, you just
But
gave it.
it's not two each hit die. It's
Right.
Let's see, it's gonna be D10. Yeah, everybody gets an extra D.
Keyhole being the always the researcher and the academic is gonna, you know, he's gonna poke around and take a look at any book collections if there are any.
So you don't find books per se, you do find there is a library that's filled with scrolls.
He would, you know, start. He would look through, like try to ascertain what they might be, like whether they're spell scrolls or his scrolls about history or.
So they appear to be on a number of different topics. A lot of them appear to be like particular property transactions. You're not exactly sure what Fingerhorn does, like day to day, but a lot of it does seem to relate to transfers of properties within the city. There are a number of scrolls though, like several hundred scrolls. You would guess probably more than half of what's here, like well more than half, like 75%, seem to in some way, shape, or form relate to real estate transactions, or the ownership of real estate and plots, for how the city was going to be developed or is in the process of being developed. There are also just general history scrolls, not necessarily of the colony itself, but from surrounding areas. So desert nations are nearby. Is there something specific that T-Hole would look for, or are you just generally poking around?
He's just generally poking around. Although with all the property transactions, that would kind of pique his interest. He might try to get a sense of if he could like see if he's getting like how, not necessarily like how much he tried to get a sense of like if there's a connection, like he would want to know. He might try to find out if there is. The words are failing me. Give me a few minutes. Go to somebody else. But he's gonna look up and try to find out some, see if he can draw conclusions about the properties.
Give me an investigation check.
Woof.
Not really. It's all gobbledygook to you. I mean, you could pick up that like it seems as though there's no reference to anybody paying any money for the transfer of property. So it doesn't seem as though they're using money to buy and sell property. This is just all voluntary transfers for no compensation whatsoever. And so at least, you know, among human cultures, that is very unusual, or dwarven culture, it's unheard of. So, and it doesn't seem like, you know, it's not like testamentary transfers where somebody dies and is leaving property to somebody else. It just seems as if on occasion people randomly swap properties. And so that's the system they have of trading one property for another. There are a few transactions that do involve people paying for things, but all of them relate to properties that are very much near that central ziggurat. So in the same area you're in now. Um, Probably because it's like prime real estate or something, and so considered to be a little special.
So they're not paying money, but it's still prime real estate.
Well, so they are paying money for the prime real estate, but most of the transactions aren't for things that are super close to the center of the city. And
Ah,
so those all seem to be just done without any consideration whatsoever.
gotcha.
So in that sense, it again, it doesn't necessarily appear as though there's much of like a class-based system here in the colony because like it doesn't matter if you have money, if you need a place to live, someone will transfer you a property.
Teal will just shake his head.
As a former emperor, I disapprove of this class of society.
Exactly. The one that can't get anything done.
Right. Otherwise, the library here seems to be filled with almost any general topic you can think of. Like there are histories, there are scrolls that, you know, teach geometry and mathematics. It is a lot of general interest stuff. It's all extremely dusty, as if no one has touched this stuff in years.
It
The
sounds about
cleaning,
right.
there is, you've not encountered anyone in the building. And it's, although it's all very well put together, nothing, it's not cluttered in that sense. It is all, every inch of this place is pretty dusty. So nobody has been coming around to clean in a very long time.
All right, well, after kind of perusing his real estate transactions, T-Hole would try to clean enough of a space so he could like lay down.
Right. There are many bedrooms in this. Like I said, it is, this building itself is about 8 levels tall, all empty. About half of the rooms in here double as bedrooms. So there are many opulent bedrooms to choose from. And all of them have extremely large beds, so I don't know if you want to necessarily bunk together or everybody gets their own room.
It would probably be safer if we spooned.
I mean,
T-Hole.
because of Zarius's tail,
Oh,
obviously he's Big Spoon. I could beseech I could beseech Osiris for assistance in getting to where we need to be. It has worked in the past.
Where if you're confident, then let's try it.
Give me some time. I'll just sort of like kneel down in prayer for a few minutes before calling upon my deity with my divine intervention. Let's see here. I have to roll a 15 or less.
Before you roll, what specifically are you asking?
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, yeah. my goal. So yeah, I'm gonna ask Osiris for his or one of his potential sons or daughters help. Perhaps he can send them along to help us or whatever to get to, since we're already in the right plane, we just need to get to Duat Fajar. So if we could just get to the city.
Okay.
I don't want to like get, hey, here's the pen, here it is, here's the stuff that you need right there. Like obviously we want to go through the dungeon because it's fun, but I don't want to save us too much effort, but some of it maybe. All right, here we go. We're gonna take a roll. 15 or lower. Oh. Not terrible, but not there yet.
I mean, yeah, there's no reason to believe Osiris couldn't, pierce the shield and get you to Doat Pajar. So it was a fair attempt.
How close are you to 29th level?
What's about 20th level? It succeeds every time.
Oh, okay. Well, see.
I could try again in the morning.
Yeah, a few hours passes and you get to the point where you can long rest again if you wish.
Um,
I mean, at some point you do hear what sounds like the roar of a dragon outside, but it's very far away. And who's to say it was actually a dragon?
are there any actual windows in this place?
I hope
There
not.
are, right. So there are windows to this place, but when you go up to them, initially you think that they're essentially shuttered, but you realize it's just some sort of magical force that is completely opaque and black so that you
Hmm.
can't see outside.
Got it.
Vampires really don't need a view. And there's like sunlight outside sometimes, like it's not a good thing.
I know.
So you could always physically go to the door and look outside, but it's still night.
Nah, I got no reason to do that. I was just looking to make sure I didn't have to like cover the windows somehow, but it seems like we're taking care of that. Strange that this doesn't stand out. If you cannot see inside.
I mean, you don't know, it is clearly some sort of magical block. It's not just like painted over. So you don't know what it looks like from the outside.
We didn't get a good luck whenever we flew in.
I mean, you didn't
I don't have dark
necessarily,
vision, so I don't know if it was even
right, you,
light enough out.
right, you didn't necessarily focus on the windows. Like the windows aren't like huge picture windows or stained glass windows. They're
Right.
relatively normal sized windows. You don't remember seeing anything that unusual about the building. It did
Okay.
seem like the courtyard you flew into was a little more shadowy than the rest of the place because the city does have lights and is relatively well lit, for a city at night. And it did seem sort of unnaturally shadowed in the courtyard you originally flew into, but you didn't notice anything strange about the windows at all. Give me an intelligence check just to see if you remember.
I just have a high perception, is all.
Oh, you can give me a perception check. That's fair.
A passive perception is what I got. Yeah, but yeah, it's a little better. A little better.
So yeah, you would have noticed on the way in that the windows from the outside look completely normal. Like it looked like you could see inside. So probably during the day, people don't notice that there's some magical effect on these windows because there's like an illusion of them showing you the interior. But from the inside, you can't see anything.
The real question is what kind of how effective is this illusion? I assume you can't see anything inside because that's the way it seems to be on this side. So yeah. Okay.
So is everyone gonna long rest?
Should we
That's
set up watches just in case?
Yeah.
Sure. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
yeah. Um,
So who's taking which watch?
I think D-Hole would take first watch. Or he would offer to take first watch.
I'm up early enough for the last watch. So
I'll do after T-hole.
I mean, it
that other
really is
guy's
just
not
gonna
gonna.
be
The other guy's
really
not
is
gonna
just gonna be
offer up at
reading
all.
anyway.
Like
No, that's fair. He'll take a watch after Clave.
I lay down.
Okay, so you all go to sleep. I assume you basically have all taken like rooms near one another. But T-Hole, on your watch, it's pretty boring. Nothing happens. And then eventually, although everyone is in their rooms, you hear the sound of footsteps, just boots clicking on the tile floors coming towards you. And eventually, rounding a corner, you see a person in fairly fancy silk garbs. But you notice he has the head of a tiger and the backwards facing hands of a Rakshasa. And he turns and looks at you and bows. Hello, my name is Timur. I come as an emissary of Namir and Ran, the viziers for Imix, who are currently overseeing the forces in this city. Who do I have the pleasure of addressing?
I am T-Hole.
Ah, your name is known to me.
I'm not
So,
surprised.
why are you in league with the Vecnites of all peoples?
That's a great question. Normally, we're not.
Very curious then that you have chosen to do so now. I understand there was some confusion at the gate, and you wound up killing. What was her name? The priestess of Thurston. I work for Imix, of course. I am not one of the worshippers of Thurston. I have come with an offer. We do not wish your group any harm. We only need to root out the Vecnites, because they would interfere with the plans of the Pasha and the Mix. But you, we have no concern for your group. We would ask that you refrain from interfering with the Pasha. Let him recover the Wand of Eternity's doorstep. Let Imix use the wand. We only seek to preserve the universe from the destruction that Thursden would impose upon it. We would save your lives as well as our own in doing so. All we ask is that you can remain here if you wish. Stay in the city for a few days or weeks. The Thursden cult, we don't know what will become of that. We have no interest in releasing Thursden, despite that being their plan. The Vecnites, though, we do not know how they would make use of the wand, or why they have an interest in you, though my guess is that they would want you to procure the wand for them, directly or indirectly. Can you speak on behalf of your group?
I will confer with them in the morning. I would not take away their agency. However, you are not the first person, and I say that generously, who has approached us thinking that we have or will at some point get the Wand of Eternity's doorstep. So
I don't.
any aspirations you have on using us as a proxy to find such thing as, well, I'm afraid you should give those dreams up now.
Well, we don't need you to find the wand. We know where the wand is. The Pasha is almost there and will retrieve it himself easily enough. There's a single lich to deal with in order to recover it. all we want is for you to not interfere with the Pasha. And we know that the Vec very much want to interfere with the Pasha. And if they want you to interfere with the cultist here in the city, we care very little about that. We would ask that you not do so while we have an alliance with them, but our alliance will come to an end once we have the wand. You would be free to act in any manner you wish after that. We could even help you or arrange for you to leave the city once we have the wand in our possession. Again, we wish your group no harm whatsoever, but the Vec are a problem. Vecna will claim or attempt to claim the wand on his own. Vecna will attempt to release Thuristan, if only to absorb Thurisdan's power. His goal is ultimately, I will admit, also to stop the destruction of the cosmos, but he would do so by becoming the only god still having a physical presence in the world. That's his goal. Imix cares very little for the mundane world. There are some things here that are useful, that's true, but Imix's real goal is on control of the plane of fire. If we could stop the destruction of the cosmos, perhaps he would find a way to use some of Thurisdan's power to help him consolidate his control of the plane of fire. But you do not live on the plane of fire, so I do not see how that would affect your group. Beware the Vec Knights, Keyhole. The Vec Knights will try to use you. They are the keepers of secrets. It is in their nature to attempt to manipulate. I suppose being a Rakshasa, it is in my nature to attempt to manipulate too, but in this case, I serve a greater master than myself.
Speaking of, what business does a Rakshasa have with an elemental? What caused such an alliance? I'm merely curious.
Imix has many connections to many different planes, including the Hells. A long time ago, Imix made a deal with the ancient Pasha of the Rakshasa so that we would serve him. He has a contingent of many Rakshasa of varying levels of importance and power in his group. This is also why he has so many infernal engines and fiends serving him. Again, his goal is to subjugate the plane of fire. Having a group of fiends that cannot be affected by fire is very useful to him in that regard. We are, although I don't like to think of myself as a mercenary, akin to mercenaries in that our services have been paid for when he compensated the Pasha long ago.
So you feel this for this past deal, you feel indebted.
I would not say I feel indebted. I would say that I have a natural duty to the Pasha of the Rakshasa, and he has ordered me to serve Imix. By serving Imix, I serve him. As he is my rightful lord, I do right by him by serving Imix. And I very much want to do right by my own Pasha, by my people.
Well, I will weigh your words and think on them. We aren't
Very
particularly
well.
friendly with the Vec Knights, but as far as I can tell, there aren't any winning sides. Any side who seeks the wand of eternity doorstep suffers to lose.
I will return come daylight then, and you can discuss this with your friends. If you don't leave the building, I don't see that any harm need come to you. We will refrain from any assault until we have spoken again. I would ask that you not try to flee the building. to run off. We would have to take steps in that case, obviously, to try to contain you. And it would be better if we did not have to do that. We're not entirely sure how you slipped past us when you left the original courtyard. But we know that the vampire thinks this place secret. A poorly kept secret for a Vecnite, I must say. In any event, I shall leave you to the rest of whatever it was you were doing. And we'll see you again in, we'll say, 8 hours. Have a very good night.
You as well.
And he turns, walks back the way he came.
I'm sorry, but when T-Hole said I would assume to take away their agency, I'm sure somewhere Dagger face rose up in the night, screaming, "See!"
Woken us start. Ah,
Yeah, you know.
didn't take his agency away. He did it of his own free will.
Right, he just convinced him to give away his immortal soul.
Yeah, I mean, D-Hole didn't own his soul. He didn't give it to T-Hole.
It wasn't his soul to give.
But the rest of your watch passes and you don't notice or even hear anything else. So you can wake up Clave. I don't know if you're going to tell this to Clave.
T-Hole will give him a rundown of the conversation. Just saying, we were visited. Well, you have
And yeah, and as you say, we were visited, you hear more draconic roars. These are much closer. Like probably outside.
and he turns to in that direction. They know we're here.
What?
Namir and Ron. They sent an emissary to try to convince us to leave peacefully.
Wait, you spoke with them? They didn't just attack?
I did not speak with them. I spoke with an emissary, another Rakshasa. As far as I'm aware, he did not attempt to apply any magics or deceit.
Well, if they did it so successfully, you wouldn't really know, would you?
I choose to focus only on the things that matter, nor all that is trivial and unimportant.
What did they say?
They're after the Vecnites. They seemed confused that we would be in league with them. They don't care about us. They seem to only care about the Pasha Vifreaks their Pasha getting the Wand of Eternity's doorstep. It seems that he is nearing the location of it now. We were offered to as long as we promise not to interfere with the Pasha's plans, to walk free. It's not a very good deal.
No.
They seemed to care little for their alliance with the Who are they allied with?
Kindred.
They allied with the Kindred. You mentioned discarding it as soon as it didn't suit them anymore, so I think that's about as it's about as far as they'd keep any sort of bargain with us. But
So
it seems like we'll
essentially, they would have us remain here as prisoners while they did whatever it is that they wanted to do. And then once they had ultimate power, then they could do so without anyone stopping them.
pretty much terrible deal. But I think I should sleep tight because those Beastie Boys outside, well, that they will be coming after us. So we'll have our hands full in the morning. He did say it would be 8 hours. He would return in 8 hours to get a final answer, and that we would be safe from harm unless we attempted to flee. In which case, then they'll come after us.
Well, we could just wind walk out.
Cannot get past the. Oh wait, I'm not there. There's the barrier.
We'd still have to find a way through the barrier.
Ringer Orn would be able to contact us despite us being in windwalk form. He's a powerful telepath.
If we have 2 dragons and 2 Rakshasas hot on our heels,
And Ringer Orn will only be here like in the wee hours of the next night. The Windwalk only lasts 8 hours. There'd be several hours between him being his body reforming and that you'd have to survive without a safe house.
anyways, I think we should just confer in the morning once everybody's had a rest. But when the next watch wakes up, let them know so that they can have a couple hours to think on it.
The next one is Rotha. I don't think that he needs to be concerned with this.
Yeah, Zarius or Aurelia.
I don't think Aurelia volunteered for a watch. So
Hell no.
Did Aurelia fall asleep or is she still reading?
Well, I have to get a long rest, but I guess I'll probably get at least 2 hours.
Right. So Clave, as your watch starts, you really don't hear anything. Occasionally you do hear a roar from one of the dragons outside. You sort of discern that there are probably 2 dragons. But you can't really figure out much more just from the sound. Zarius, you wake up with a start. You're not really sure what time it is. You know, it's still not time for your watch yet, but you hear in your head the familiar voice of Coursera, who says, "Hello, I have a request for you. As you remember, you made a deal where I would help you get past my realm and into the next one to see the stage. You promised to send me one of the many earthly delights that I can't ordinarily get here in my own world. I require you to honor that bargain now. And I believe, if I am not mistaken, you are in a city, so it should be relatively easy for you to find what I need."
Can I talk back?
Yes.
the entire city is hostile against me. I am in a hiding spot.
That is unfortunate, as I do require you to honor your bargain, which was that you would send me what I need. I will provide you with the money for it, but I require a young and beautiful slave girl, and a little younger than the normal levels of maturity would be best, so that that way she will have as long a life as possible living in my world. And you begin to hear the sound of what you imagine are coins falling on the ground around you. If you require some other currency, you can let me know. Just venture forth. I'm sure you can find a disguise. You were quite a powerful group. Once you have this slave girl, focus on the sound of my voice, and I will be able to hear you so that we can complete the exchange.
Does our kingdom use slaves still?
Not really. Like you have, there's, every society has its questionable cases, but you don't have slavery. Does the Great Colony? You don't know one way or another if the Great
That I'm
Colony.
not sure of. I'm just trying to determine how
Sure. He would have added
okay with my
preferably.
own.
He would have added preferably he would like an elven slave girl because they
Because
they
they would
live
live
the longest.
right?
But he's not super picky about the species.
I mean, a changeling can be whoever you want him to be.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't help him with the age thing though. So he probably meant a real elf, but he wasn't super specific about that.
I was like, this might in fact be an impossible task.
But you and we have a bargain that you will provide me with what I ask for. I provided you with the means to get to the sage's realm.
That was
So,
within your power. But if acquiring a slave is not within mine, how am I supposed to
Well, in that case,
uphold?
I fail to see how it could not be in your power to venture out. That it is dangerous, that is not the same thing as impossible.
They may not even deal in slaves.
I
Many
am
places do
sure I
not.
can.
This is a
When,
a practice that has gone out a long time ago.
what? When I lived there, everybody had slaves.
Now no more. Now
I am
everyone gets a
sure
chance to work to earn their place.
if you find the right person and give them enough money, they will sell you a slave. It is the way of things. If you require more money, you may also focus on the sound of my voice, and I will hear you. And I
What
can
of
transport you currency, or at least forms of metal.
what if
Virtually any of the metals, any of the existing metals, I can give you in almost unlimited quantities, be it tin, lead, iron, silver, mithril, gold, mercury, whatever. There are, of course, those are the only metals that exist. There are no other metals except for those 8.
an unlimited amount, you say? And I'll look around. It's like, are the coins just like on the ground?
They are. You realize that they're really not coins. They are little gold discs. They're about coin sized, but they're not like imprinted with anything.
Right. They've been through no mint.
Right. So he essentially just sent you thousands of little discs of coins.
Unmarked cash. Got it.
Right.
Untraceable.
Right. But you realize it's a lot. In fact, Clave, you almost certainly would have heard the sound like rain falling of coins just hitting the floor, one after the other, because there's about 10,000 gold now piled up around the bed you're sleeping on.
Unlimited, you say?
Virtually unlimited, yes. It takes a little bit of my power to transfer coins across the dimensions.
Could you? I have a wild idea, so I don't know if I can convince him to do it. Maybe if necessary, I could get this guy to rain down coin upon these people with such ferocity that it kills them. And everybody around us, like outside of the building, just like
Coursera, make it rain.
if you want that slave, this is what I need.
I cannot kill someone with this ability of mine. It would take far too much time. When I say unlimited, I meant in the context of needing to buy a slave, not in the context of covering an entire continent in 100 feet of coins.
Listen, you know what? Let me video game this shit. This is a one time where I was just trying to video game it.
You do have action points.
Right.
I
I'll give you
mean,
mine
if
from
I
I'll give you
cannot-
mine from Mike's game if I can.
I cannot force you, obviously, to do any task, but we did have a bargain. And the gods do not favor those who do not keep their bargains, as I'm sure you know. Who's to say what the consequences of breaking a bargain with the great Coursera would be? The gods might be very angry with you.
I can ask. I will let the others know.
Well, Teol separately owes me a similar favor, as does Aurelia. I have chosen to come to you first. I am not necessarily saying all of your debts are forgiven. Just yours.
I should still be able to enlist them with help for help.
Sure, if they choose to help you, that is up to them.
We have very dire matters that must be attended to.
Well,
The end of the world, for instance.
From my perspective, my need for a slave is quite dire, especially if you might die in the next several days because you are in an impossible situation, because you can perform no favors for me once you are dead. Maybe I should think of something for Aurelia and Teal to do tonight, so that way I will not lose the opportunity later on.
If you could properly help us, then this would be a lot easier.
I have matters of my own to attend to. As I said, I will pay for whatever monetary cost there is, but the service itself must be performed by you.
Must it be a slave? Can it be a willing assistant?
That would be acceptable. Although,
Would
once they get
you-
here, they will be my slave, of course.
Presumably, they will have room and board.
Of course. I
you
want my
intend to-
slaves to be alive and happy.
Do you intend to beat these slaves in any fashion?
Only if they deserve it.
I must amend this bargain. There can be none of that.
That is not for you to amend. It is the way of things.
It is not.
How do you keep your slaves in order then?
There are no slaves.
Of course there are. That is the way of things.
There are no slaves. Can you read my mind?
Not in the way I think you are thinking of. I do not know the deepest secrets of your heart merely because I can speak to you now.
Hmm.
If you choose not to get me a slave or fail to procure me a slave or a willing assistant who I may sometimes beat, then the consequences will be on your head, not mine. For we had a bargain, and I have fulfilled my end of it.
I
You
know how to
feel
contact you.
you feel that his presence sort of fade after that.
Yeah.
And you don't feel connected to him anymore.
Hmm.
And go ahead and make me a perception check. You feel like something has changed. You're not sure what, but something feels sort of just generally different about the world. Almost like you're coming down with like a cold. Like I was, it's not like a physical illness though. It's just it's a general sense of unease that you
Mhm.
feel hanging around you.
Sure.
You guys ever see Supernatural, the later seasons?
Not all of them. I stopped after Dick.
I feel like this is similar to one of those episodes where the Winchesters are no longer protected by God and they have to actually be like real people.
Right.
Yeah,
So
this is more like so here's exactly what is going to happen. If
gonna-
you
I'm gonna
breach the
prepare
bargain,
remove curse.
you can do that and you can see if it works. But here's what will actually happen. The universe has, if you do not fulfill your end of the bargain, he is going to subtly alter the universe around you so that all of your natural 20s will become 19s.
Mhm. Oh, that's fine. I rarely roll 20s anyways.
watch, you're gonna have a string of them now.
Most of the time, my opponents are making rolls. I'll just stick to it. I've done this before. It's fine. I understand.
But
I
remove curse definitely might have an effect on that. Well, it might not be a permanent effect, but
Sure.
much like your, swollen leg problem,
Hmm.
for a time it may suppress it.
Yeah, we're gonna do a hot shower. I'm sure there's a fix there.
So Clave's watch goes, without incident. You see or hear nothing after the sound of the coins falling. And Zarius, you get like a whole weighted blanket thing because there's all these coins scattered over your bed.
Right. And it's fine. I was probably getting up soon anyways.
So Clave hands his watch over to Rotha. Rotha's watch goes without incident. Zarius's watch
That's right.
goes without incident. And it's morning again, probably about 2 hours before Timor returns. So you're all awake. I assume you fill in Zarius about Timor's visit
Yeah.
and Aurelia.
Yeah, we got a long rest.
Right. You have your long rest.
So I think I got like 2 hours before that started, then so 4 more hours.
Right.
All right.
Is there anything you're doing in the 2 hours you're waiting for Time War to return?
I will let everybody know that I was contacted and what he is requiring that I get him. How much money was it, anyways?
10,000 gold.
So-
Untraceable
Completely
gold.
untraceable.
So it sounds like we need to escape this house and procure a slave before we meet up and get out.
Wait a minute. It sounds like Zarius, you're not going to do it?
I would rather not, if possible. Or otherwise, if we could find someone willing. Perhaps a bargain could be struck with these Rakshasas outside.
How does he plan on getting them there?
It seems he has a way.
Hmm.
The same way he gave me all these. A pouch full of fucking coin.
Would breaking a bargain offend your god? I mean, is that why you weren't able to talk to him yesterday? Will you ever be able to talk to him again?
This was after. It's. I can still talk to him.
But in your heart, you were ready to break the bargain. You just didn't know. You just didn't know whether or not you were going to yet.
What do you think? This is all based on die rolls? This is based on what's secretly in your heart?
um,
Hmm. Well,
Teal doesn't know that. Teal will be like, well, maybe your god's not talking to you because, you know.
No, you're absolutely right. That in hindsight, now it all makes sense.
we could have Clave could make us look like make all of us look like elven slave girls, and then we could get him to teleport us back to where he is, and then we're out of here.
but then you have to be a slave.
No, there's 4 of us.
I think Coursera would be very disappointed if
He'll get over it.
I could be convincing.
It would force us to strike new bargains.
Well, right now we're just
we don't have time for this. Zarius, if there are some major consequences that will happen because you don't fulfill this bargain, that affects all of us. And we need all of us to be at full power because we have Rakshasa and dragons outside.
Yes.
we plan on fighting them.
No,
And-
I hope not, but we don't have very much
It's-
time.
It sounds like, at least through them, unless they are deceiving us, which we should also assume that they are, we may be able to get through this without conflict, or at least our own.
How picky was Coursera being with what he was asking for?
I do not know what you mean.
Like what
Someone as young as possible who will live as long as possible.
okay.
Intended as a slave.
Okay.
He didn't necessarily say as young as possible. Like he wasn't looking for an infant.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Someone slightly
Early-
below adult age.
Yeah, early adolescence. Or or I guess the
like,
teens.
a
Teens.
yeah, a
Yeah, yeah.
75-year-old elf girl would have been fine.
Right. Still young.
Right. But not quite mature yet.
What kind of
17.
time frame did Coursera give you to procure this slave?
He knows that I am in a city.
That has the worst timing.
I believe that is the greater intent of our dungeon overlords.
In Mike's game, you don't know that they're overlords.
Yeah. Puppet masters and shit.
How do you spell that guy's name?
Which guy?
The one, the perv?
Coursera.
Yeah.
Koorsera.
Okay.
So we'll need to get out.
Rotha, how old are you?
I'm 57.
And
Eh,
I'm not familiar with changelings. How long do we typically live?
It depends. What I know of your kind, I don't believe your lives generally go much beyond 120. I'm not expert on such things. I could be wrong. Kindred,
My
however, yes, Thralar kind. My kind tend to live, at least among the kindred, we have been known to live 400 years at the outside.
Okay.
Though more typically 300.
So with that,
Safest passage out of here.
Clave, because Clave's opinion, we don't have time to deal with this, and he doesn't want to see what terribleness will succumb to Zarius and by extension us. So he casts suggestion on Rotha,
Mm-hmm.
with the suggestion being, Rotha, let me tie you up. It'll be a fun game that we're playing.
Okay. Not sure if we have time for games, but if it will be fun.
Okay. So I tie Rotha up very as securely as I can. And I also ask Tihon, Zarius, and Aurelia to kind of make sure that the knots seem tight.
Um. They seem tight to me.
Okay. Um. So, Clave is going to ask T-Hole's help in lifting him, Rotha, and putting him in a bed.
How heavy is Rotha?
I mean, he's about 150 pounds.
Oh yeah, then yeah, Teal will be able to. I forgot that Teal has a strength of 19 right now, so
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be pretty easy. anything,
And
just
then-
kind of like throw them around.
And then Glaive is gonna ask everybody kind of step outside, and he says, I would rather let you not see this.
Is this for my part of the bargain?
This is going to make Rotha ready to be used.
So, and why are we condemning this person?
Beck Knight.
What?
He's a Beck Knight. And we need
Is he?
to deal with Coursera. He was powerful enough to just transport 10,000 gold pieces across plains.
No, I was saying, is he a Vec Knight? But I want to say, I will stay.
Okay. Clave then begins a ritual. And he has been waiting for a long time to perform this ritual because he is now out of this. It is something that none of you had ever seen Clave do. He is going to steal this person's shadow. The idea being he's going to steal his shadow. The guy's going to be kind of out of it, and then he'll agree to the deal to be Coursera's slave.
He's already tied up. Coursera can do the work.
Needed an 18.
Yeah, I know. So still tied up, he seems just sort of settled in and indifferent to what's going on around him at this point.
You see that ultimately there's a small fragment of a shadow that Clave then puts into a small vial and then puts it into his pocket. And now he weirdly does not cast a shadow. All right, Zarius, we have your slave now.
I'll just like try and think out to Coursera.
You feel his presence creep back into your mind. Hello, my friend. Have you managed to find the impossible slave?
We have someone here who can assume any form you need, humanoid form.
That should be fine. How young is she?
They are young compared to how old they will be. How old they can be. This I assure you.
And how much did it cost to procure your slave?
A lot.
I meant out of 10,000.
It costs 10,000.
Very well, I
I
will
was
trust
gonna
you
say
on this.
This is a Ghostbusters moment. She asks you if you're a god. You say yes.
I was like, this is my payment. God damn it, making me do this. Finally,
Yeah, look,
Zarius has money.
hey, if I'm going to violate my ethics, you're going to pay me like the whore I am. God damn it!
Zarius never had more than 100 gold on him ever. I don't think, maybe once, but now he's got plenty.
Focus your mind on the slave. Picture the slave in your mind while you stare at the slave. And then hold forth the earring that I gave you.
I don't remember an earring, but I'm
He
sure I
did.
have it.
He did give each of you an earring. Whether you
Yeah.
wore it or not was up to you. But he
Magic
gave you
earring.
one.
I don't know if I had a place to wear it, so I'll have traditional earlobes.
You do see as you hold it out, though, it begins to glow brightly, and then the body of Rotha begins to sort of emanate a very similar light, eventually getting bright enough to blind everyone in the room for in a flash. And Rotha is gone. And you feel that sort of tension in the world around you disperse, and it's gone as well. Your definition of young is a little different than mine, but I suppose this will do.
Again, tell them to change form when they can.
He's just gonna ask, probably just ask T-Hole or Aurelia for just another a younger one. No, they
Oh,
say
yeah, it only has to be younger than 57, so you should be okay.
I don't qualify. Sorry.
three's a crowd.
I'm older than 57. How long have we been
I mean, that took at least, you had to tie him up and steal his shadow. So that took probably at least like half an hour of your, that and the discussion beforehand, about half an hour of your 2 hours. So another hour and a half before Timor returns.
um
Slave is gonna pull about some shadow from using his own shadow and form it into a wooden dart and hand it to T-Hole. T-Hole, before you throw this, let me know. He's casting creation.
I'm sorry, what is this dart?
It is a very special dart. But I need to know, and I need to be ready before you throw it.
So what you're saying is you need a code word.
Sure.
Maybe How about inner light? Or beware foul beast.
go for the eyes, boo.
Or should we just stick with Shazam?
Sure. Shazam. That's fine.
Shazam. When you hear me yell Shazam, be ready. Because that's when the dart come out. Is there a place that I should aim?
Perhaps you should go over what this is going to do.
Throws it right at his own feet.
Yeah, I just imagine like Clay just hands to this dart and he's like, all right, like tell me when you throw it. And he's like, all right, I will. Yeah.
throw it in the trash.
Okay, so Clay will demonstrate. He'll take the guitar from T-hole, and then he's gonna put it on the ground. And then he's going to use his bonus action or his action to alter the nature of the illusion spell to suddenly become a massive boulder. And then he does it, and then he uses another action to turn it back. That's one.
Theo looks at he's like, Shazam. And he picks it up.
If we're going to fight things that are immune to magic, we need to be creative in how we use our resources.
It's a good idea.
First, let me reach out and see if we can be swept away from here safely. And I'll begin the prayers again. Once again, just asking to be safely brought to the city. Here, still in the same plane, so should hopefully not be like a huge issue.
Right. And now your heart's clear because you've actually honored your deal with Coursera. So it's possible now that your
Right.
God will listen to you.
Right. Nope.
We're gonna, if we are
It is
to
not
fight
time.
these-
Yeah.
If we are to fight these Rakshasa, and if they are immune to magic, we can at least make the terrain to our benefit. I know they dispelled Zarius's weather spell, so they may be able to dispel my Mirage Arcana. Still, could give us a little bit of benefit. So what is it that we're doing? Are we going to try and run using the mist form? Or are we going to do something more stupid than that?
I do not believe we would be very successful.
They don't want us.
No, but if we were to run, they would chase us. They also don't want us to get out of the city. They don't want us to be a thorn in Imix's side.
I suppose you better turn on the charm.
Me?
Someone.
Unless there's another way out.
If they wanted us dead, they would have killed us already.
But if they wanted us prisoners, they would be doing exactly this.
And our warden is going to be here soon.
And that's who they want.
We need Ringer Orn if we're going to leave the city. He's the only way that I know of to open up the shield that protects the city.
One of these Rakshasa might have a way.
But why would they allow us to leave and potentially stop Imix?
They
Again,
do.
if you are convincing enough, they will believe anything.
Not if I can be as convinced. I can be the most convincing, charming son of a bitch to ever walk this earth. That doesn't mean that they would just blindly choose to subvert their own goals because I have a great smile.
But we do have,
Why would
but we
they?
do
Why,
have cat eyes.
why would they keep us prisoner?
Because we
Would
we pose a threat.
They don't sure, they didn't sound like they didn't act like we did. Just wanted us out of the way. We're just being a pain. They seem pretty confident what's gonna happen. Personally, I hope it does happen.
He could have been bluffing,
Okay,
sounding more sure than they actually are. Just so that it would seem like there wouldn't be anything to gain by attempting to interfere. He said they had to deal with one lich. And I think I know who that one son of a lich is. And he ain't nobody that's gonna be dealt with quickly.
well, maybe we should join them and take care of the lich. That'd be one way out of here.
they are assuming lichdom.
Or
Who was the last
in-
person to see Mordenkainen?
I just look at T-hole.
probably his messenger. The one that we saw around the time that we met Roblar.
That seems reasonable, but yeah, no idea.
We know Mordenkainen to be an incredibly powerful wizard. There's no reason why he would need to be seen by anyone to communicate with them.
Yeah, but also he's not going to be seen by some schlub on the street.
Correct.
So if we're talking about chances and odds, my money is on his messenger. Regardless, it doesn't change our situation. We're surrounded by Vec Knights on one end, and Thultites and Imix worshippers on the other.
There is, although Kepri is invisible at the moment, you see in the space where she is occupying, there is a brief flash of light. But you're not sure what that was. Just a pulse of light appeared in the air, and you'd all be aware that that's roughly where she is.
Someone probably tried to scribe on her.
Darius, you want to say what just happened there?
I-
Kepri, are you okay?
I'm fine. Don't know what that was. This collar I'm wearing, I think, is what flashed.
It is doing its job.
And Aurelia, make me a wisdom save.
14.
Sticking with the 14.
Yep.
So
I sit here.
Aurelia,
Nobody say anything.
Aurelia, you feel like another mind creeping into your own.
Okay.
And you sort of lose control of your actions
All right.
and you all see sort of Aurelia convulses a bit. And then you hear her say, I am Ringer Orn. I have taken control of Aurelia's body briefly. I understand there is some trouble at my home. What's the situation? What's going on?
Your place isn't or was never safe.
Really aware of what
Rakshasa
you are
and the
doing right now.
dragons are outside.
Sorry, what did you say, Tony?
I asked if Aurelia was aware. I was asking him through Aurelia if Aurelia is aware of what's going on.
In vague terms, she might not remember every single detail while I'm in control. She'll otherwise be unharmed. Bertha was unharmed, but a little unaware of the specifics of what was going on. Her experience will be the same. So they haven't apparently stormed the building. Have they made you some sort of offer? You can't trust them, you understand. They'll kill you if they get the chance.
They already did. Half of the chance while we were sleeping.
I mean, you shouldn't underestimate yourselves. You did destroy a Hellfire engine and an Ifrit. A fight in this place would not be quite so easy. You could, if not kill Ron and Samir, you might kill some of their other minions. They're not all suicidal. The ones who can actually die would prefer not to. And Ron and Samir certainly would, or Namir, sorry, Ron and Namir would prefer not to be sent back to the hells, I'm sure.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We don't want to fight.
Yeah, you do. Kurt's controlling my character. You definitely want this fight. You'll win.
Even if that was true, we don't know how many reinforcements they have with them. We don't know how many Azer they have, any other Ifrits or kindred with them. So we need to get out of here, Ringerhorn. How do we get out of here? How do we escape the city?
There's a secret passage out of this building that we could take.
There are no secret passages. You can't simply tunnel underneath the Great Colony so easily as that, because the mythal exists in so many places. You can easily fly out of here in your mist form. I'm just not sure where would be safe to send you. If they know of this place, they probably know of many other of our safe houses.
Are those the ones that I noticed all your real estate transaction papers seem like you deal in a lot of real estate. Are those all safe houses?
No, if you've been in my library, they're probably, if you looked long enough, you could find transactions related to almost any building in the city that's older than 100 years. They're not all safe houses in any event. A lot of them are normal transactions.
Assuming we could outrun everyone, and potentially in the cloud form we could. Is there a space safe for you to begin the process of opening the portal, opening the way through the barrier?
I will not be able to begin that ritual until after I have reformed my body, and that will not be for at least another 18 hours.
Need you to speed that up.
That's not how that works.
You have an hour. Works in the movies. What do you mean?
I will not be ready within an hour, and even if I were, I'm trying to reform in a location where I could not get from there to here without passing through the sunlight. I require the cover of darkness to reach you no matter where you are.
It seems we are at an impasse on this. Unless you can assist us with this, with dealing with the Rakshasa,
I'm not sure how I can.
then we will have to do it on our own. I do not think we can exit this city without your assistance.
I
Unless
agree
you
that
can, unless you
I-
can tell us how to open it.
I don't think there's a way I could explain the ritual to you. It's quite complicated. And it requires a degree of psionic focus that I don't even think Clave could manage at this point. Perhaps someday, but not in the next hour either.
Not even a crude method.
You could attempt to simply physically pass through the barrier. You would take damage. Some of you might die in the process, in fact. But it's conceivable that some of you would make it to the other side.
Can it be dispelled in any way?
It would not be dispelled by a simple dispel magic. It's not a magical barrier, but a psionic one. You could attempt to destroy the mythal.
No.
Now, I agree that that would be catastrophic for the kindred. And hard to do all on its own.
Is there a single mind controlling the barrier?
The mythal controls the barrier. But the mythal is not free to act in any way it wants.
So if we were to get the mythal on our side, could we do it?
The mythal can't drop the barrier directly. The mythal is the power source ultimately for the barrier.
Right, but we wouldn't need the mythal to drop the entire barrier, just a section, much like you were going to do.
How do the others get through the city? Get through the barrier?
They use a very similar ritual to the one I would have used. There is a ritual that can be performed that will open gaps in the barrier for short periods, usually very small gaps in the barrier. The larger the gap, the easier it is for the central authorities to figure out where the opening is. So I would be using a very small gap in the barrier to get you out so that it perhaps might go unnoticed. At the very least, given your windwalk ability, it probably would be best when we do open the barrier for you to already be in that form so that you can escape as quickly as possible once there is an open path. Is there any way for you to use windwalk for the full 18 hours?
No. It lasts for only 8.
It's not true. We have action points.
Right. I like to save those for saving throws. Things that might kill me.
Yeah, but you never can tell. I used 2 last session on 1 save. Didn't work out so hot for me.
Yeah, you gotta pick your battles. Roll a save I think I might make. I wasn't gonna use the action points on those saves because I couldn't make them. They were like deck saves and shit. I'm like, I can't roll a 21. The highest I can get is a 19.
I will attempt to find you again once I've formed my body. I'm running out of time controlling Aurelia. Her mind is more powerful than you might imagine.
She's a great great asset to this team.
T-Hole like looks at Zarius and he says, "No, she's a great friend."
Sure.
I sense that Aurelia will be glad that she won't remember hearing that.
Zarius is just old. He's got no way of like he's never expressed any sort of anything like this before ever. And he certainly doesn't know how to do it now.
Yeah, and he meant that she'll be glad to not have heard that she's a great friend to Teal. That's not very goth. But his presence fades, and Aurelia, you are back in control of your body. You vaguely have the sense that there was some conversation, but in your head, it's just like people were mumbling.
She comes to and says, "Yeah, I'll be your slave." Oh, I'm still here.
I think you're too old again. You had to go back again.
I'll make it work.
I mean, he just accepted a 57-year-old male
Right,
changeling.
so the bar is really low. I'll trip over it. Considering the circumstances, that seems like the best option right now.
Yeah, I mean, Kepper would chime in and say, that it's not entirely off the table of trying to get Coursera to help you out. I don't know what he'd ask for.
I mean, he did not seem incredibly interested in helping whenever I mentioned it.
Well, yeah, I mean, so his point was when he said unlimited in amount, he was thinking like, maybe 100,000 gold. He just can't like blanket areas and target people and kill them in piles of gold.
Unless they can do that, I don't want any part of it.
Yeah, he wasn't rejecting.
If he can't
he
do
w-
that, he can't help us.
Right. He wasn't rejecting your idea because he refuses to help you in any way. He was rejecting it because he just couldn't do that particular thing.
I don't know what I don't know what sort of help he could provide them.
But apparently he could transport people to his dimension.
I mean, if I had a tuning fork, I could do that too.
So what is the group's plan? And, are you waiting for Timor to come back and have a talk with him, or are you preemptively attacking, or what is the plan?
I don't know.
I think we need to escape, but we also have nowhere that we can hide if we do escape. And I can change the way that this building appears to give us a new exit that they wouldn't be expecting. But in doing so, I would not be able to create a safe space for us once we were to leave. Well, no, I suppose it's not true. I could attempt
Circle around and then come back and you rearrange it.
No, because it's already been established. If I limit it to a specific area, that I can't extend it past that area, and Clave is not going to just blanket the city in a Mirage Arcane because he doesn't know what effect that would have on the Mythal. So actually, I could create a way for us to get out, and I could create a new safe house for us once we were to leave.
Do we know if the barrier extends down into the ground?
You don't really know.
These guys sound pretty powerful. So if we did that, how long would it take them for them to find us again?
Well, that's a good question. I think
It seemed to know we were already here. Or at least partway through the night, they already found us.
Right, but it also seems like they already knew about this place and they knew that we were with the Vec Knights, if not Ring of Orn specifically.
Um,
What, so what did they say that they were going to take care of the Lich Mordenkainen to get the wand to Eternity's doorstep? They said the Pasha was
Was
about to
on
do
its way.
that.
Yes.
Wait, Mordenkainen is a lich?
they
I
are
made that.
assuming so.
I am too.
You're a lich?
No.
She is assuming so.
Well, I guess I guess they probably wouldn't be open to the idea of us going assisting the Pasha to defeat the Lich. Promising that we won't get in the way, but of course we wouldn't let the Pasha get the wand.
Really funny is if we had a way to crush gemstones, I could prevent them from entering this house.
Wait, you need gemstones crushed? I can do that.
We need crushed rubies.
Okay.
Does that guarantee that they won't enter, or just piss them off and 2 hours later they come in and kill us?
Would make it very difficult for them. We'll say that.
What is it that you would do?
A forbiddance. I would ward this entire building against any and all extraplanar beings. They couldn't even approach from another plane.
How long does that spell last?
A day.
So that would last long enough and for at least till Ring Orn would be healed.
Potentially, if they notice it, it could potentially be dispelled.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
but we have to keep in mind that Rakshasa are magic does not affect them unless it's of a certain power.
I believe the nature of the spell would still win out. I mean, I don't know.
Is that a risk that we want to take though?
That might be a GM call. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it also doesn't prevent them from physically forcing their way in. It just prevents them from magically transporting in.
No, once if they try to, they'll take damage essentially. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if they're immune to 6th level spells, they just won't take any damage.
it seems a weird jank thing. They could just walk into a forbidden zone.
I mean,
Yeah,
but that is
Rakshasas
what
are-
Rakshasa do.
Damn
Yeah.
fuckers.
I mean, if you upcast it and maybe if you put an action point into it, that could probably help.
There really is no upcast version of Forbiddens.
Well, right, but you
I
can
mean, if I
still
don't have the
use a
spell
higher
slot,
level spell slot.
yeah.
So
There's the
does-
action point version.
so that I guess that is a question. Is it the level of the spell or is it the level of the slot used?
Right. An upcast fireball, does it still hit them? Well, they're probably immune to fire, but whatever. of cast lightning bolt. Probably immune to that too. It's been a while since I've looked at a Rakshasa stat block.
Yeah. I mean, so I will say T-hole would sort of know it's really spells of a certain level, not the spell slot if they're controls.
Be certain spell power.
Okay, that's fine. I would have had to use a fucking action point to prepare that spell anyways, so because I didn't prepare it originally.
I mean,
Yeah, and it also, so not only would it not stop the Rakshasa, but it wouldn't stop the dragons.
oh, that's right, dragons too.
Sure, but the dragons are large.
Yeah, but dragons can shapeshift.
Not all of them. It seems strange that they even have dragons.
I mean, this is sort of more plane of fire thing. Red dragons are not uncommon in the plane of fire.
All right, so that
Presumably,
brings
they
us,
too could be bargained with.
okay, so that
Yeah.
brings us back to fighting or fleeing. I still say fleeing, but I need 10 minutes in order to prepare our exit.
I say we join Team Rakshasa.
You know what? I'm going to cast it anyways because I can always change it to um a fight or flee. So I'm gonna start casting Mirage Arcane to specifically just limit its influence to the building we're in.
Okay.
While he's casting, I will also spend some time casting. Well, I mean, I guess maybe I don't even. This one was wasn't sure about preparing because I don't know if it's going to be helpful or not. Yeah, probably not actually. If we're going to flee, we have to have a plan or a general sense of one.
Well, I was thinking we would create a tunnel from this top floor that we're on that would drop all the way down and into like a J shape and then come out of an exit outside of the building. And we would exit from there. So while their attention was on the building, hopefully we would come out behind them. And then, you know, and we would be in wind form as we did so. You're muted.
And then what?
Then we run away, we find a good place to hide, and I make a new safe house.
If you think you could do that, if we think we can evade them without being detected from the city, while in this cloud shape, we may be difficult to find, but we're not necessarily difficult to see.
Yeah, but what other options do we have?
Well, I guess is Clave actually doing that spell?
I've already
Okay,
cast
so
that.
while he's doing that, I'm gonna cast Mind Blank on myself. And then I'm going to step out of the room. And we have that magic earring, right? So we can technically contact Kosera or maybe I think I can. I don't know. So I'm like,
But
Kosera, you there? Hello?
so that you do see it's not as bright as it was when he was transporting the person, but there is a little hint of a glow from the earring.
Okay.
And you hear Coursera's voice in your head. Hello, Aurelia. I am
Yeah.
very much enjoying my slave, although he is.
TMI. TMI. It's okay. I just want to know, do you have anything I can take care of within the next 10 minutes? Because we're about to get into something. We're probably all going to die. So since we owe you stuff and you got about 10 minutes, if I can come up with something, because I don't want to like die owing you a debt. So that would be unfair to you. So, if there's something you can take care of within the next like 10 minutes.
I was not planning on having you do anything.
Oh, well, that's,
I suppose, however, if you are going to die and you wish to clear your debt, what is the finest vintage of wine that you can get in the next 10 minutes?
oh, yeah.
Or
Let me see what I got. Oh. Well, we're in a luxurious mansion. I will look. There might be some in here, Kosera. I mean, I wouldn't want you to be,
deprived.
deprived of this wine.
If you can bring me 6 bottles of a fine vintage, I will clear your debt.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Yeah, I will search the house for 6 bottles of wine. This is a fancy house. Probably got wine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't take too long for you to figure out where the wine is kept.
Okay.
Guy keeps wine. He doesn't drink it.
It's for his guests. Got to keep up appearances. I sampled some of it. How is it?
It's blood.
Okay. It's good. It's good.
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Well, as best he's gonna
I
get.
mean, how much would Aurelia really know about fine vintages of wine?
We were wine salesmen back in that one.
Yeah,
city,
we
you know?
were. That's right.
I mean, yeah, you were not sampling it though. Aurelia was like a little slave girl in the old empire. I don't know how much she learned.
I mean, does it have some fancy writing on it? I mean, come on.
Yes, it
It's gotta be- there we go.
It definitely looks like fancy wine as
There
far
we
as
go.
you can
That's
tell.
exactly. I will collect as many bottles as I can carry.
Okay, so you collect a bunch of wine.
Yep. Okay, I got
Indeed.
your wine.
Very well. Place it down and gaze upon it and picture it in
Do you
your
need
mind's
somebody
eye.
to come along and pour it? I mean, I can do that.
Um, I do not
Oh,
need
okay.
a sommelier, but if you're offering to come be my servant, I suppose I could
Mm.
allow it.
And how long would that be for?
For the rest of your life.
Okay, yeah. Hmm.
And this is how Peter reveals he no longer wants to play this game.
All right. I guess, yeah, we'll pass on that. Okay, well, here's your wine, and I mean, if you want me to grab a hold of T-Hole, I know he owes you a debt too, so.
If he wishes to clear his
Oh, I'm
debt,
sure he does. Sure, it's racking
I-
his brain right now.
I would rather save it for something that I have thought through a little more fully, but I do appreciate the desire to be free of the debt before you meet your end.
Yes, because it's coming pretty quick. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Picture the wine in your mind's eye and then hold out the earring.
okay. I will do that.
And similarly, it begins to glow, and the bottles of wine begin to glow along with it. And then there's a flash, and the earring and the wine are gone.
And there's a great washing of regret goes over Aurelia as she realizes I should have gone along. I should have been the servant girl. Oh well. Time to die. All right.
Tiho, you hear in your mind the voice of Coursera. So I hear you are about to die.
Very comforting.
As just said, I only repeat what I am told from Aurelia.
Oh,
And Zarius also mentioned that you were essentially caught in some sort of trap.
I don't suppose you're reaching out of kindness to help bail us out of this side trap.
I don't know what I could do for you, but Aurelia was afraid that she would die with this debt upon her. I wasn't sure from what she said if you also had a similar concern. I don't have any favor that I wish you to fulfill at the moment, but if it is of concern to you, I might be willing to wipe your slate clean.
Well, you never know. You never know how it's going to turn out. I think there's still.
That's God.
You never know how this will turn out.
That's the spirit. Just hang in there and maybe you'll survive.
But say that I mean, is there anything? Are you able to transfer us like 1,000 balls of yarn?
I cannot send you yarn, no.
Only one of the 6 metals.
Eight. There are eight. 7 known to the ancients and Mithrim. I mean, I could transport you to my domain. So that would be quite a favor on my part. So I would require another favor in return.
Well, I'd want to have everybody be able to accompany, not just me.
And you would all owe me the favor, which I am fine with.
Can't you just take that burden for all of us, man? Like you did with Daggerface?
Well,
If you need to reach me, you can just think of my voice, focus on the sound of it, and I will hear you.
thank you. I will consider these words. And yeah, he'd stop focusing on him.
Let's take a 5-minute break. I need to use the restroom.
Good.
Be back.
can see now why you were like, I don't know what you guys are going to do this session, so
I mean, I am prepared for you to fight the Rakshasa if that is what you want to do. But it occurred to me that you could easily also just run. And T-Hole probably would remember that there was a time when there was only 8 metals known in the entire world. Platinum yet to be discovered, adamantium yet to be discovered. So Coursera is just that old.
Wow. Wow.
So what is the plan? You are fast approaching the time when Timor will come back looking for your answer to his proposal, which is essentially to, you just cool your heels in the city for a few days. And once the Pashas retrieve the wand, you'll be free to go.
I mean, we could just agree and wait for what's his fuck it, or the vampire to reappear or reach out again.
yeah, but here's so Clave would say to that. So if we assume that they're going to keep us here prisoner, they're also going to expect that we in some way either bring Ringer Orn here or don't interfere as they plan to bring for him to come here or otherwise contact us, at which point they will kill him because they want to kill him, and then we truly have no way out of here.
He doesn't need to come here. He has proven that.
No, but if they know about this safe house and he hasn't been keeping good secrets, then they may already know where he is. Or at least they may have a way of finding him.
Hmm.
Besides, if we do agree, we don't know if they're going to end up putting us in shackles or otherwise confine us. And with that, my spell will complete, and there will be a slight flash of the building, but Clave is hoping that it was subtle.
So make me an Arcana check. And Teal, you would remember that the Timor did say that if you wanted to, you could spend your time in the city here in this building. Like he didn't necessarily mean that you would be like hauled off and held in like a prison cell.
Yeah. Yeah. He remembers that. That, we could stay prisoner inside the building.
So there seems to be no reaction to your casting the spell.
All right, guys, I can modify this place to get out, or I can modify it to take a stand.
We should make our way out.
Did you intend for us to be in mist form?
I mean, that would be ideal.
I think it will take a moment. But bear with me.
How much time do we have before they come in?
Timor probably will be here within half an hour.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
have
just-
time for that then.
I'll do it now. Shame I have to do it so early, but I will.
For that, I cast Death Ward on myself.
Good call.
That's fair. That's fair. You know, hold on. Let me see if I got that. I'm pretty sure it's always prepared for me. Hold on. Yeah. I'm gonna cast it on myself as well. And then I'll do that. So right before I do that, right before the woodwalk, I'll do that, and then I'll turn this to mist.
Okay, so what is the plan for escape? So that I understand it.
All right, so using Mirage Arcane, I'm going to create a tunnel from our floor through to ground to maybe 100 meters out from the perimeter of the building, where we will go mist form and luge our way out into the open air and then run.
So looking down, so I didn't actually picture you necessarily on the top floor of this building, but if that's
Oh.
where you wanted to be, that's fine. Like I said,
In my head, that's where we were.
right.
So
In my head, I tend to think that, you know, in buildings without elevators, the top floor is like the bad floor. Like that's where you put the servants because nobody wants to climb 8 flights of stairs. But, but you know, you're
I
free
sure
to
shit
do.
don't with this bum ass knee.
You do encounter a bit of a problem in that you realize that underneath this building is almost solid mythal, and your spell just has no effect carving through the mythal.
okay.
So the area under street level is essentially inaccessible to you.
Okay. So problem, guys.
Well,
The
you're going to be in mist form though, so you'll have to transform back your physical form to talk,
well,
or use your telepathy.
we have half an hour, and I'm not using my telepathy just yet. So Clave will transform back and say, problem, guys. The mythal is under this building, and my spell doesn't work on to go through it, which I'm actually quite happy about. I was worried that it would disturb the mythal. Glad that that's not the case. However, our new problem is that we can't get out that way, but I could maybe make a tunnel out through the very top. I don't think they'll expect us to do that.
So, and I also, because I hadn't thought you were on the top floor, the top floor, actually, several of the floors do have terraces. So you do have access to the outside from the higher floors. There does seem to be only one entrance and exit point on the first floor, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, so
But
if we
and the terraces wrap around the building, so you essentially can choose the direction in which you try to leave.
well if we go back to your original headcanon of us being on the first floor, then I just switch my tunnel to up,
Right.
and we just have a direct shot through the roof. So I would just let everybody know that that's a change in plan, and then return to mist form and get ready to leave.
D-hole doesn't respond. Because he's in a mist. He's a ball of mist.
Also, just before we do that, I will change the building.
To what?
Um, to turn it, it'll maintain its shape, but it will just become a solid, um, just solid steel, inches thick,
Okay.
and where it's like no exits or entrances, apparent,
Except for the one you made, the hole in the top.
except for the top. Yes.
Okay. So the building shimmers and shifts and suddenly becomes solid metal.
Is somebody else taking the lead to go out the chute?
So, and once again, unless you're using telepathy,
Yeah, but no, I mean, I'm like watching the other clouds to see if anybody makes the move.
I think I feel like T-Hole would eventually just do it if nobody moved. Just because he's slightly impatient.
It's a lot of starts as everybody kind of wonders, oh, you can
Yeah.
go. Me, you, me, you, me, you, me, you, me.
I'm not doing that at all. I'm just waiting.
All right, I would follow T-Hole as he left.
Yeah.
so in what order are you guys flying? First it's T-hole, then
Oh, boy.
Clave.
I'll go. Yeah, it's like once somebody is dedicated to going, I'm gonna go.
Okay, so then it's Zarius and then Aurelia. How closely are you all flying together?
We're about to be hit. I mean, I imagine Clave wants to get out as quick as possible. He just didn't want to be the first. So he'd be as close to T-Hole's ass as possible. Without
Yeah, it just
actually
looks like
getting
one
up in there.
conjoined cloud. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about Aurelia, but
What
I
about
was gonna,
Aurelia?
I was gonna say count to one after I see, uh, Zarius go, I'll count to one Mississippi. There's some mystical place I've heard of, and then I will dive down.
Yeah, so you're flying up and out now, not diving down anymore.
Diving up, diving,
Right.
yes, flying, fly, dive.
pitch upwards.
So let's see. So one Mississippi for people who are in mist form is still actually quite a distance. You're about 50 feet behind the others.
Okay,
And as the first of you, Aurelia manages to miss this because she's 50 feet behind. But as you all start flying out, you see there was one young red dragon that was attracted by the change in the building and looking at the hole. And I need everybody to make me dexterity saves. It didn't roll damage for some reason.
I have
but
advantage
it's,
on this because of my armor. Jesus Christ. That advantage didn't fucking do shit.
Can you post Windwalk?
Resistance to damage from non-magical weapons.
right. This
Okay,
is not weapons.
Right. Okay, I'm using an action point then.
I feel like I might use. I mean, I already have resistance, but
Fuck. All right.
nah, I'm not going to use an action point yet. I have resistance already, so
I'm gonna use an action point. Man, that's bad.
that is unfortunate. You get to avoid it altogether, don't you? If you still take half, right?
I still like half, but yeah.
It's only
So is
Clave
that-
gets fucked up most.
All right, so that's you're taking these rolls then, right?
Yeah.
So it's 59 damage for people who are taking full damage. And 29 for the people who are taking half damage.
Is in concentration, so we're good. Yeah, I don't know if I can just post this. I don't know how to do it because it's on the beads. So I don't know how to like put it into the chat.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. I was wondering because I knew that there was resistance. I didn't know if it was like what the resistance
So what
was.
also what? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see there are, as you're flying away, you're otherwise out of the range of these dragons pretty quickly. There appear to be only 2 dragons flying around. They're both young, but young red dragons are still pretty powerful. Around the building, however, you do see there are a lot of Azer, like around the whole building, probably 200. And you do see there is a 1 orange furred Rakshasa and 1 white furred Rakshasa that seem to be leading the group. At first, nobody seems to notice you. When the dragon fires its breath weapon, though, you do see a lot of them do see you. It's a little too late for them to react before you're a good distance away and out of their range. But they are at least aware that something just happened when you emerged in cloud form out of the top of the building. They were aware when the building suddenly changed to metal, but they are aware that an escape has probably occurred. So where are you going to now?
T-hole.
Well,
Yeah,
can
I mean
I?
you're following T-hole. So
Right, as
we will wrap it up after this, but I'm just curious, like where is T-hole going? Random locations, you can turn back.
Yeah.
Because you don't know that much about the colony. You're aware of like the central redstone ziggurat, but that's probably a bad place.
Yeah.
You've seen a couple of places here and there when you move through the city. But none of them are particularly inviting.
Right. I think T-hole would he would probably go for like the densest location.
Densest in terms of population or like number
Like-
of buildings.
Number of buildings.
Because that would definitely be this near where you just are now, the center of the city.
Yeah, so I guess what Teal would be looking for is like places where they could that where we could like kind of get in and hide.
Right. So the good thing about where you are is you're in the area of the city where there are a lot of very tall, like hundreds of feet tall crystal skyscrapers. So you can definitely, break line of sight from this whole group. Even the dragons can't keep up with your speed. So you could definitely break line of sight by essentially flying across the center of the city and getting a few buildings between you and them. The buildings are also hundreds of feet tall, so you could conceivably land on top of them. You don't necessarily know like to what extent they can find things. You could also, it might be more advantageous to land on street level rather than on top of a building. But so far as you know, these forces, other than the dragons, can't really fly. So, a little easier for them to get you surrounded if you're down on street level and you transform back into your bodies than on top of a building, presumably. But then the dragons might find you on top of a building.
Yeah.
And it's essentially all down to T-Hole because everybody's following him. He plans the strategy for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, if we're by all these 100+ story skyscrapers, I think
100 feet, 100 stories would probably be a little, be outside the dome at that point.
perfect. But yeah,
Burj
100,
Khalifa.
100 feet or so, like I think it's like try to get into an open window or something, like get distance and kind of weave through and then try to get inside somewhere and
Yeah, you're not so much finding, there's not so much open windows on these things. There seem to be solid crystal,
can
but
we
they do have, like I said, they have roofs you could land on.
gotcha.
I mean, you might be able to find an open window on someone somewhere, but it's not common for these things to have like open windows in them.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I guess you'd sit at the top of a building and just kind of see if we could lay low for a little bit.
So you find one of the tops of the skyscrapers, essentially, cross town from where you just were. You find one and you settle down on it. It's about sort of medium height. You're not quite at the highest possible elevation, but you're well above street level. And T-Hole settles down. Are you transforming back into your body?
No. No, it's kind of stay in this particular form just in case we need to make another quick escape.
Okay, so you are hovering in cloud form just above the roof of this building.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would go next to T-Hole then. Because then if we all collect in one spot, then whoever moves next can then take the lead instead. We can kind of take turns that way.
Right.
Since we are nearly at the end of this session, do you allow us to spend hit dice with an action point?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a limit?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm gonna spend all my hit dice. 2, 4, 6, 8. Wow.
A lot of
Wow.
ones.
Yeah. Well, there's
That's
that.
that's where we'll wrap it up. You're on the run at the moment.
Good.
And it's not necessarily clear where is safe.
I will use an action point to get my 4th level spell slot back.
That was fun. Thank you for running.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
I thought for a second there we were going to lose Aurelia. She was just going to become wine steward to Coursera.
Yeah.
Sure, she was
I
thinking.
mean, right. The good news is wine stewards get beat way less than the slaves.
Just remind everybody for Tuesday to level up your characters. I know my guys are complicated, so if anybody needs help, let me know.
I gotta actually roll the hit dice, or roll
Yeah,
roll
to do
for
that.
my hit points. Roll with advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you roll twice to take the higher one.
Might as well just do that now. Since I'm in both of them.
I will at some point log in because I have to update spells and things.
Cool.